but nevertheless a learning lesson from. A very good morning to all of you. And first of all, a warm welcome in the Fintech capital of India. Am I right? Right? Let Mumbai be the finance capital of India. The Fintech capital of India is Bangalore. Warm welcome to this city. The city is also a very promising city because recently in the world ranking of startup ecosystem, Karnataka has increased, the Bangalore has increased 7 points up from 21 to become the 14th rank in the world. So a hand of applause for all the entrepreneurs, ecosystem players, and everybody else. And I could see many friends here sitting in the room from table 1 to table 5th. And some of them are very close with family members as well. Lovely to see you here as entrepreneurs. The topic that has been given to me is about Viksit Bharat. And I was just trying to understand what our Honorable Prime Minister is talking about of Viksit Bharat. And what exactly it means and why finance. So first of all, madam, you talked about of today in the morning that fintech is a sector, right? Let's do a little bit discussion whether fintech is a sector or not. Because when you look at a Viksit Bharat, it's very different. From a Viksit Bharat perspective, friends, if you see, there are 4 or 5 important characters which is going to play a role. One, youth. Second would be the, I would say, poor or poverty people around, which is less given a privilege to be earning potentials. Women in a large community. And obviously, the farmers. These 4 are very important players for Viksit Bharat. If these are 4 important players, what is the vision that the country is looking for Viksit Bharat? They're looking at a $30 trillion economy by 2047. They're looking at creating absolutely zero poverty for anyone to be proud Indian citizen. Looking at a very affordable access healthcare and education system for everybody who is born on the soil of the country called India. And we're looking at creating 100% skilled workforce which is employable, right? So if you see the vision of the Viksit Bharat, it also talks about of 70% of the women as a participation in the workforce. Today it is very, very small, 25%, somewhere it is 30%. These parameters are my Viksit Bharat ambitions. And if these are Viksit Bharat ambitions, then what we need to do, actually? We need to grow our GDP by 9x by 2047. We need to grow our per capita income by 8x. And we need to grow manufacturing by 16x. So this is the way that we want to reach to the Viksit Bharat journey. And in this journey, fintech is what? The question that she made a statement that fintech is a sector. I humbly request you to consider, not to consider fintech as a sector, but consider fintechs as a growth engine. An engine, an enabler, which is going to drive the GDP growth for the country. And how it is so? If you look at these, some of the numbers that has been given to us across, the fintech is, as a growth enabler, as I said, is also looking at from perspective of what is the infrastructure which has been laid down so far in the country, where we can say that a fintech is not a sector, but fintech is an enabler. The one and most beautiful is the digital public goods or infrastructure, DPIs, the Aadhaars, the UPIs, the Jan Dhan, and etc., the banks which has been created, accounts which have been created, and etc. But also looking at how we are making the access of credit to the individuals. Looking at how we are growing the innovation in the ecosystem of various kinds. And also looking at how youth is coming up together with the support of the policy and governance ecosystem. Now, in these areas of our enablers, the fintech becomes the growth engine for the economy. But the question which comes on the top of this is this enabler requires a regulation? Is this enabler requires some sort of a self-governance? Is this enabler also requires some sort of a inclusion of the members of the society within the country. And these questions are getting answered by innovations, which is happening around today, right? We see this as a very simple model. And if I just put up the Mr. Amitabh Kant, you know everybody. He put a very simple model in G7, which says about how the fintech and the Viksit Bharat is connected. So you have a fintech as an engine, then you have an inclusion as a very important element. With the help of inclusion, you look at the credit flow, which goes into, and from credit flow, it goes to MSME growth. And MSME growth, it goes to GDP expansion, and GDP expansion, nothing else but the Viksit Bharat. So there's a very strong line of connect, which beautifully done by Mr. Amitabh Kantji, and I'm just reiterating that. This is the Viksit Bharat, and the finance and the fintech will become the engine. Now, if it is so, now let's look at the numbers. Today, if we look at the global fintech as a segment, and if we say this is the enabler, how much is contributing to the economy today in the world level? Approximately $330 or $340 billion as on today. The fintech as an enabler is contributing this much. And we are looking by 2030, it will go up to approximately $700 billion. Now, if that's the $700 billion going forward, reaching the stage, 2047 will be what numbers? Expected $5 trillion. That means this journey of the number game, of the contribution, is pretty big. And if you look at the CGR, which has been going approximately 16 to 17% per year basis contribution to the global GDP as well. Fintech revenues has actually grown very big. In fact, from $245 billion today, is expected to go up to at least $1.8 trillion by 2030. A very amazing numbers. If you look at the market for, say, just for the sake of saying your name, sector, then the market size and the contribution isn't much. But for me, it is an enabler which is contributing to the GDP at that level. Asia Pacific, 27% of the CGR, and the North America is somewhere around, roughly around 17, 18%. This is the global picture. Look at the India picture right now, where we are today. And friends, very happy and very proud that 87% of the fintech absorption rate that we've seen in India today, which is very, earlier it was just 30, 40%, reached to 70%, today it's 87%. I'm pretty sure in a couple of quarters and couple of years, you will find this 87 number percent reaching to 95%. All of you see this huge market for yourself as a consumers who are sitting in front of the you to look at 87% become 90% and 95%, the adoption of the fintech. That means today, the grandparents to the grandchildren are engaged into the fintech activity. And still, 500, roughly around a 400 million population of the country, which is not 100% connected on the internet, huge market for within India market itself. Right? So you see a large place where these numbers can be grown up. Why we are saying that the Karnataka is the fintech capital, and Karnataka is the fintech capital, the reason is because A, these unicorns which has been born in the fintech so far. How many unicorns has born in the fintech so far? Anybody guess? You know it very well. You are all are, maybe somebody is unicorn already here. Or maybe soonicorns, soon to become unicorns. Any guess? More than 10? More than 15? Yeah, it's more than 15, 16, right? Out of those, 10 unicorns is born from Karnataka alone. So those unicorns, when they set up those fintech companies here, they shifted their base from anywhere. Somebody shifted their base from North to Bangalore because they want to scale up. Somebody put up a very amazing GCC on fintech. You know Revolut? Revolut is a company, a fintech company from UK. They set up a small GCC operations here. I was fortunately invited to inaugurate their office. Today there are 3,000 people plus in Karnataka, just 3 years back. And they're setting up their business here of the fintech as a service model. Now, not only what Karnataka is offering as an entrepreneur for the local market, but also the global players are coming down here, and our own players are reaching to the global. Do you know the Razorpay has set up offices in almost 5 to 6 countries in the world? And there are 10 countries where they are pipeline right now to look at it. So what we did as a government agency and a KDM perspective, we invited all these heads of founders of these big unicorns and other enablers like banks and others to come down and set up a fintech task group. The fintech task group was done because we wanted them to give their wisdom and experience to say how we can make the Bangalore as a fintech hub of the world. And in that scenario, they came out with a beautiful recommendation report of that, which is publicly available, so you can download this report from the KDM website. Have a look at this report. There are 5 important pillars on which they have said what could be done. And out of which, one is that if India's fintech market, so to say, is $1 trillion, then the Bangalore will look at $500 billion to consume as a part of that. And we're looking at around 50 plus unicorns to come from Bangalore itself and Karnataka itself in the fintech field. So by any chance, if you are not in Bangalore, don't worry, I'm open to invite you to come down to Bangalore and work with me, because you will be making a journey towards that growth. And you have a friend here called Sanjeev, an organization called KDM, to work with you to make it happen. In this share, the other strategy which I found out is that what is the funding which is going on across for the fintech segment or the fintech companies? Friends, ladies and gentlemen, 57 to 60% of the funding of India in the fintech market happens in Bangalore. So that means, I don't know, 165, $170 billion has been raised so far by the startups in India. Around $170 billion. Can you imagine how much is raised by the Karnataka-based ecosystem players? Almost $75 billion out of 165. The rest is everywhere distributed in Delhi, NCR, Hyderabad, Chennai, everybody else. 99% of the VCs of the world, if they are in India, they are in Bangalore. 25,000 startups which operate from Bangalore, out of what we say tech startups, not the anybody else. Tech startups. We are also having ecosystem which is very strong here. It's a saying in Bangalore that you land in Bangalore on Monday, you will be meeting 2 friends on Monday and Tuesday. By Friday, you will be having a pubbing session with your friends in Bangalore. That's the Bangalore for all of us. It's a very different kind, but if you see from a business angle, any testing of the product of a startup, they would like to do it in Bangalore. Why? The reason being is because the cosmopolitan market size and the sample of your customers that you can find anywhere in India is in Bangalore. You can test your product. ONDC, when they developed this biggest digital public infrastructure, they wanted to test the product. They came no other place than Bangalore. The Aadhaar version of the world version of Aadhaar, which is serving for the countries of the world, is being operated from Bangalore. The IIITB is serving countries on Aadhaar services of a tech stack from here, of India, where you will find this type of ecosystem. So I'm coming from a Viksit Bharat journey towards the India fintech, global fintech, towards the India fintech, and then coming to the Karnataka perspective. And then now I want to connect the audience here with their heart and soul and says, by any chance, if you're here, you're blessed. If you're not there, let's make it much more blessings for you and figure it out a model of working together. Couple of more points before I sign off today here. Karnataka state and the systems here can be talked about of, let's say, what happens if the political circles changes in the state, right? For us, business is separate than the politics. Fortunately, governments has changed, but the policies, the industry partnerships has not even single disturbed at any point of time. So you are in a safe hands. A. B. The way that the government operates today with the industry, especially in the fintech, is more like an open nature. We talk on WhatsApp. We walk in for our meetings. Sometimes we just use single names. That's the way the professionalism which been approached by the bureaucracy here. The third point, whatever commitments the government gives to the industry is still to you. It might be less or big, but whatever commitment we give, we deliver. We don't go back on the commitments that we gave to the industry, and especially to the startup ecosystem players. Fourth, when the industry says that, look, we need to represent something to RBI. Example, RBI keep on changing guidelines on something or the other. For fintech people, it's like a बहुत बड़ा बोझ है उनके कंधों पे. So what we can do is, we represent on behalf of the industry to the RBI. Please set up a sessions like this. And we are fortunate, where I sit in my office, 2 floors up, RBI has a center of excellence on fintech. So what happens is, we just walk and talk and help the industry. What you're finding is the last and the fifth point is the talent. The trump card for the fintech or any startup or any innovation is the talent. Ladies and gentlemen, 60% of the deep tech talent of the country comes from Karnataka. Over 100,000 AI resources are deployed in the companies from Karnataka. We have 27 Center of Excellence, and recent one, the latest version, is the Center of Excellence on Fintech in IIM Bangalore, funded by the government. I can go on talking about certain initiatives. Last submission to all of you before I sign off. You have me here, you have a government here, you have a bureaucracy here, you have an industry here, you have a VC circle here, and your old friends of fintech are growing very far. They want to become a mentors as well. Anytime you need anything of this kind, reach out to us. And thank you, Business World, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity in this morning session to connect with you all. Jai Hind and Jai Karnataka. Thank you.